Everybody, welcome to 10 Backward. I'm your host, Ron McAdams. As always, I'm here with James. Hey, James.
Hey, Ron. How's it going?
Hey, it's going really well. I think something we absolutely need to get out of the way first thing this week is my voice and what is wrong with it.
It sounds fine. It sounds fine, man. You're doing good.
I appreciate it. I've got one of those. I can hear it myself. Other people may not be able to, but I've got bronchitis. So I'm going to do my very best to make it all the way through. One of the not the best episodes of the seventh season.
Are you sure you're not contracted with the what was that? The Urodelian flu?
Yes, I think I do have the. What the hell is that called? It's the Urodelian flu or something.
Yeah, something weird.
I'm going to stop by the Urodelian after work and pick up like a couple of like submarine sandwiches and some of those terrible pickles.
Go get a grinder.
It's I don't know. You were telling me that you don't really care for this episode. It's but to get everybody up to speed, it's Genesis, and I thought I was going to like it right out of the gate because I'm a huge fan of Mike and the Mechanics. No, wait, I'm a huge fan of the band Genesis, but unfortunately, this had nothing to do with that.
Not at all. It's not that I hated it. It is in that realm of so bad it's good. But there's just some things in here that I like at the beginning of the episode, I had this like sick feeling by how people were like kind of treating each other and like, this isn't going to go well, is it? Yeah,
they are kind of like rude and they're a little saucy to one another, like more than, than you would ever see on here, especially 7 seasons in where everybody's kind of fallen into who their characters really are. So, but this is the 19th episode of the 7th season of TNG, and actually this has a couple of like really good sort of behind the scenes things. First of all, written by Brandon Braga, and secondly directed by Gates McFadden.
Wow.
So yeah, I know. So Dr. Crusher took off the bright red fright wig and got behind the camera and kind of made this one happen.
She took off her doctor's pants and put on her director's yoga gear.
Yes, or some of those fancy pants that have like the really wide, like the flappy kind of thighs.
Very, yeah.
I think director's pants, but again, everything I know about directing film comes from watching old episodes of Looney Tunes. So,
really old, yeah. She's. I don't know. I don't know about this episode. I'm still like I'm still in that area of it's interesting. It's weird and just it doesn't seem like a Star Trek episode in some ways.
No, it seems like a Monster of the Week X-Files kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
And this is an X-Files episode that just happens to happen like in the 23rd century. So that's how I like, and I don't think I'm the first person to say that. I'm pretty sure my friend Ron Bader was the one that like kind of said that to me like years ago. Pardon me. It's that damn Uralian flu. I think he's the one that kind of said that to me where it's like, yeah, this is totally like an X-Files episode. But do you want to launch into it?
Oh, sure. Right into that cold open, we have Commander Riker in sickbay, and he's getting like these spines removed out of his back. It was an accident at the Arboretum where he was, he was getting jiggy with a new crew member, and apparently he rolled over and these spines from this cactus stuck in his back. And we got Lieutenant Barclay back. Lieutenant Barclay is the hypochondriac. He thinks he has some kind of illness, and I want to say here, I think
I've got Richelian death virus.
Yeah, some kind of Uridellin flu, or I have no idea how you say it. But he's diagnosed himself with. I want to say this is where WebMD became an idea, because she's like, you got to stop going through the medical like flip book, dude. You got to stop doing that and stop coming to me. And I'm like, oh wait, I got to see, when was WebMD started? It was like 97. So this was, or like 96 or 97. So this was right before, like 2 or 3 years before WebMD was a thing. I'm pretty sure they watched this and it's like, hey, that's a great idea.
Yeah, we could get nerds to like self-diagnose with things and sell all kinds of medication and stuff we wouldn't be able to otherwise.
Exactly. So she says he's got this Uridellin flu, and something about how humans usually have an immunity, and he doesn't. His T cells that would usually go after this infection, they're dormant. So she has to hit him with some kind of synthetic T cells so his body can just fight the infection. And then Data shows up. Yes, Data shows up with his cat Spot, and Spot is pregnant, and yeah, I mean, Data, the proud father.
I mean, lol was, I was proud father about that, but this cat, I got a lot emotionally invested.
It's funny because it's like he still has no idea. Like he has lived with people for how long. And he thinks owning a cat is the same thing as being a parent to a sentient being.
Well, he's like the foreign guy of Star Trek, where he's the Latka Gravis, where it's like, I do not understand all of your social cues, sort of thing. So.
He's the Mr. Balky of.
Yeah. Yes.
But
everything is different in the whole country. So
I also want to say, what my favorite part though about this opening is just how much of a scamp Riker is.
Oh yeah, because he's like, I was like getting busy in the arboretum and I rolled over a cactus, and it's like, and it's like it's Riker. It makes me wonder like how long he was on his back before he was just polite enough to say, "I'm being stabbed to death."
Well, it's funny.
Are you almost done? Because I'm dying.
Right? It's like, and she's like, "Oh, stay out of the arboretum," and he gives this little smile, like, "I'll see you next week, Doc."
You scamp.
Scamp, Riker. One of the nurses goes to check on the cat and then reveals, "Oh, I'm pregnant too. My husband's really excited."
Nurse Ogawa.
Yeah, Ogawa. That was her name, right? Mm-hmm. Right. Who is she again?
Yeah, it's the lady that a couple of episodes ago when we watched, she lost her baby.
Oh, right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because there was like the time flux or something,
sure.
And she lost her baby. See, this is what's great about watching it backwards, because it's like she was pregnant and then she got less pregnant as time went on, and then now we're finding out she's pregnant.
I was worried that wouldn't actually happen. Like this better be Chekhov's pregnancy.
Oh man, there is payoff on a Ogawan pregnancy. You better believe it. Because I think also at this point that they were trying to get her to like go over that. I thought that she was going to be part of a spin-off project or something like that too. So they were trying to give her a little more backstory.
Like, so we're going to send you off to DS9,
something like that. Who knows? But
oh boy,
Nurse, I know we kind of have
so much on Nurse Ogawa. Just like I think it's funny they gave her this much. It makes sense if they were going to use her for something else. It's just blowing my mind now that it's like, really, that's the person they chose to kind of give this much screen time because they think she's going to be an integral part of another show.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
It's Brandon Braga, so I'm not really sure what to tell you. It's just. The episodes write themselves,
right? So that's pretty much it for the opening. Is there anything else you can think of for the cold open?
That's basically it. Other than I agree with you that the whole thing, it's just so inappropriate that like that Data is just like, it's like, move out of the way, man with a pregnant cat.
He really,
It's like all these people in there, like Dr. Crusher. My entire arm was scissored off in a horrible warp core accident.
hold on, I got a pregnant cat to check.
Hold on, can't use contractions, and my cat is pregnant.
and the fact that, again, like, I have to say it one more time, Riker's the first officer.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't that normally in any kind of other military field, you'd be reprimanded hardcore?
I'm thinking that some of these people, because you got to remember that, nerd alert here, that while Starfleet is a military organization, there's all kinds of people that work on the ship that are not part of Starfleet, that are not Starfleet officers, that are just civilians that work in Starfleet. So they have like their own separate sort of list of people that they are subordinate to. So like Miles O'Brien he's just a transporter chief. He didn't go to Starfleet Academy. He's just like a regular Joe that stands in a room for like 8 hours in case somebody wants to get their molecule scrambled. So if Riker were to date not Miles O'Brien, whoever you want to ship is fine. I no judgment here. But if Riker wanted to date like a non-enlisted person, I see what the problem would be.
He was also in his uniform, so either A, he was like going on lunch break, or B, he was actually on time and is like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be a little bad.
I think that it's one of those things where maybe, but you also have to keep in mind that we've only watched this show for 7 seasons. Yeah. If I don't see Riker in a Starfleet uniform, it could be anybody.
I guess that's true.
It could be anybody with a beard. I wouldn't know who it was. Right. So you need to be in. I got you. You know, I got to get you in costume anyway. So I'm going to put you in the thing that everybody recognizes you.
Yeah.
So.
Well, are you ready to jump right into Act 1?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I love those opening credits, so I watch them every time on Netflix. I do not fast forward. That's cheating. That is cheating. Yeah. So the episode Act 1 opens up with Picard, and he's talking about, Captain's log, stardate, blah, blah, blah. We're performing a bunch of new tests on some tactical systems and weapons that we've upgraded, and Mr. Worf is supervising the exercises. So on the bridge, Worf is testing out all these new things, and there's like a new guidance system that, it's like, oh my gosh, like everything is 15% more efficient. And it's like, if you blow up the other vessel, who at the end, like on your employee evaluation is like, hey, when you guys murdered the shit out of those, aliens, you could have done it 15% more efficient.
Right? No, that's true.
So I guess this is one of those bureaucracy kind of things, upgrades. So he shoots off this volley of torpedoes, and one of them just like goes and like scoots and shoots off the other direction. And so they're like, well, are you gonna catch it? It's like, you've only done this job for like 6 seasons. Are you gonna stop the torpedo? It's not responding to any kind of like, whatever self-destruct signal I sent it. Well, why don't you shoot it with a phaser? Well, it's too far away. Well, why don't we chase it? Well, we're in the middle of this asteroid field and it's too small. If we go inside, we're going to hit the rocks. So we can't have that. We've only got shields on our big old nasty spaceship. So the captain, of course, because this is totally protocol, says, me and the second officer, me and the director of operations are going to go ahead and get in a shuttle, and we're going to chase this torpedo down. It might take us a couple days to go do it. So, everybody, you got the con. Take it over. You're good.
Riker is not happy about it either. Riker is just getting more and more angry.
Yeah, I think everybody at this point is kind of showing a little bit of like being pissy. But he's like, well, it's captain's prerogative. That's fine. So they go ahead and they take off like separate directions. But Data is like having like a little powwow with Barkley before he leaves, because Spot is going to deliver the kittens and he might be in the next day or two. So he's like, you're one of the few people that Spot likes, so would you watch? And he's like, oh yeah, that's cool. I like being part of your reindeer games. So he's like, obviously a cat person.
Yeah.
And he's like, so he's like, hey, I'll watch your cat, no big deal. And Picard is like, hey, go ahead and come on down to the thing, we're ready to leave. And you kind of see Spot doing a little bit of nesting and getting ready for the kittens to be born. So as time goes by, and they piss off to wherever they're going. So time goes by, you see people in the Enterprise, like you were saying, they're starting to show like strange behavior, and like everybody's getting like a little aggressive towards one another. And Worf is up there on the bridge, and you haven't seen it yet, but it's gonna happen, because there's Troy on the bridge, like sitting in the captain's seat in like a full Starfleet uniform, which is explained a couple episodes from now. But she's like, oh my gosh, like, oh, it's so dry and it's so cold in here. So she's like, turn up the temperature, up the humidity. And Worf is like, belay that order. And it's like, whoa, you are not in charge of the Enterprise right now. The commander, Counselor Deanna Troi. And he's like, you've turned the heat up like 6 times, already. It is too hot here. And she's like, you will just mind your own damn business, furry man-child, and you will turn the heat up. So he's sweating, and you see sweat all over him. And so later on, Worf is like all pissy and stuff, and it shows everybody like kind of in their like after hours kind of thing. And Worf is laying in bed, and he's like flipping back and forth, and he can't get comfortable. And it's like all of a sudden he like sits up in bed, and he like kind of like starts running around the room and like sniffing things and looking at stuff. And like he goes over to his bed, like rips it open, and it's just like full of like little pre-cut tiny pieces of foam, as if the prop department was like, hey, we need him to be able to shred the mattress here. So he shreds the mattress and like throws a bunch of stuff on the ground, like grabs an animal pelt or something, throws it on top, and then like sleeps on top of that. Like a very primal sort of
he learns to den for the first time ever.
Yeah, it's like, these damn blue mattress people lied.
Right, and there's several things in this that I found interesting. One was Data had a very weird line read when he's talking about Spot and Barclay holding Spot, and he says, she is to you. And I was like, whoa,
yeah, I know.
Is that emotion?
Sorry, I neglected to mention
freaked
that.
out when he said that. I was like, what the hell is wrong with him? That's like not even normal Data read.
I know. I think everybody was just tired. They were just so tired at this point in the series. They were like, we're done. Let's just wrap this up.
When Worf and because you're right, Riker like dismisses him from the bridge. Riker dismisses Worf, and he goes into the to 10 forward, and he orders the I hate myself special, which is like the crab legs and the turkey legs and everything. And I was like, what? This is just so weird. I wasn't sure what to make of what was happening yet. Like, I didn't know. I was like, this is just kind of odd.
Yeah, he's got like a big plate of like Klingon food. Like there's obviously like octopus tentacles, and there's like a big, like he look at like he just went to like Disneyland. He's got like the big turkey leg, and he's like gnawing on it. And Troy comes in, and she's like, I thought you were going to meet me for lunch. He was like, I was hungry. Do not approach me without announcing yourself while I'm eating. It's like, like a dog is like that. Like that. And she's like, I don't know. I'm so hungry. Bring me the saltiest thing on the menu.
Not just one.
She orders some kind of
2 of the saltiest things.
Yeah, it's just like the weirdest sort of food request. Some manner of like what is it called? It's fish roe.
It's caviar.
The fancy name. Yeah,
caviar.
there you go. So Yeah, so it's like it comes in like a little like Waterford crystal little thing. Like it looks like a Fancy Feast commercial. And she just starts like there's a couple little crackers in it. She just starts shoveling it in. Num 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 num. So I don't know. Because again, this is also we haven't seen it yet, but this is part of the thing where Troy and Riker are taking a break, and Worf and Troy are kind of a couple.
That's still odd to me.
to be explained more later. So yeah.
But Act 2,
go ahead.
So
sir.
basically, and it starts off with Barclay in engineering, and he's starting to become more energetic than normal. And Riker is just like, I don't have time to listen to your crap. I can barely understand what you're saying. Just send me whatever you're talking about, and we'll take care of this later. LaForge and Barclay figure out there's a problem in one of the Jeffries tubes. So he figures out there's a bypass near this conduit, and as they're in like the tube and they're doing their inspections, they find out this it was a colic acid that's dissolved. Caustic acid.
Yeah. Or no, you're right.
It's
yeah,
both
sorry.
because
it's both
because it's like burning through this metal. And they're like, this has got to be organic. I don't know what's going on, but we need to test this out. And LaForge is just kind of like, he's getting like more and more drowsy as it's going on, and Barclay's getting more and more hyper. So it's kind of a different, weird activity between the two guys. So Riker later, because he's getting more and more lethargic as things go on as well. Not lethargic, but like he's not as intelligent as he already. I don't know. He's a smart guy, right?
Like his higher brain functions.
Yeah, he's having trouble like paying attention or understanding what people are saying, and so I think at this point someone says, "Hey, the Starfleet wants to know how did this test go?" And he says, "Oh, just tell him we'll send it later." And this is where you see Troy. She gets into she goes to her quarters because she's just like, I'm so hot. I need to cool off. Or no, she thinks everything's so cold, so she's like, I gotta go and get warm. So she's like, I'm gonna go take a bath, and she jumps into her tub in her quarters with her Starfleet uniform on because she's just so cold.
Yeah.
Then,
well, they didn't pay her enough full frontal, so you're gonna have to put up. You're gonna have wet wool. That's all you get.
So she's in this bathtub, and Worf shows up to her quarters, approaches her, and then just bites her in the cheek. Just straight up, just like bites her cheek. Which.
Oh, wait. Oh, she had her clothes on, so on her face.
No, not the cleft of horizon.
Oh, I got it.
So both Troy and Worf go to sickbay, and Crusher's like, "What is going on with you guys? What is this on the side of your cheek, Worf?" And she's like, "Open your mouth, because this looks like oh crap!" Worf sprays venom all over Crusher's face, and then he like barely tussles with somebody from security, and just like bypasses him and runs out of the room. And Agawa is checking on Beverly Crusher, and
throws her into stasis, right?
Before the venom can paralyze her. And they're talking about reconstructive surgery, but she's like, she'll be fine. But
it's fine. People totally have their face burned out all the time.
Exactly.
Here in the future.
Barclay is starting to get more and more involved and says like this venom that's affecting the doctor is in other parts of the ship, because we were just up in that conduit and it's burning holes through the rest of the ship. We think there's something loose in here. And Riker is like, dude, I'm turning into a meathead. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. and LaForge is like, what we need to do is get our message out to Starfleet. And isn't this the part where Riker's like, I don't know, what should we do? And then LaForge is like,
he's like, you're gonna do that thing, right, bro? Like that thing you just said that like sounded like a great idea. What would you do? Yeah, let's do that then. And but you're gonna go ahead and do it too, right? Yeah. Okay, super. All right, I'm gonna go get some jock shakes.
I know, and Jordy's like,
in a few minutes.
Look, I know Riker's a meathead, but damn. A couple things here. I love that the venom that Worf sprays is CG. It's not even a practical effect.
Yes. No, it is a very not great CG effect of like just some kind of mist
so
coming
weird.
out of his mouth.
It's so weird. They could just have it like squirt.
Actually, what I really like about this is that Barkley is his energy level is like 15% higher than Eddie Deason in War Games. So. Like he's just off the chart with just like, that's what we got to do. We got to do that thing. You understand? Like, give me the numbers. I'll tell you the numbers. Come on, you got to do the thing. Right. But it's like he's just all over the damn place with like, it's like, oh, you're trying to work on that thing? No, I got it. No, I'll fix it. So
all right, it's like you go to the actor who's playing Barclay. He's like, all right, you want it on set. I chopped out 5 lines of coke for you.
This will give you you better do 6. I want to make sure you got like the right level of energy for this scene. So that slams us directly into Act 3. Act 3 is takes place just with enough time to go by that everything can go south on the Enterprise, and we have Scully and Mulder show up to investigate what went wrong.
So hold on. Is Scully Picard because he has less hair?
Yes, that is true. Yeah. But so Captain's Log Supplemental, Dana and I just returned from going on a wild goose chase after that torpedo. It was 3 days. Oh my gosh, it was awesome. We stopped off at Starbase 72, got some duty free, and now we're back. We're going back home. So Data is like, well, hey, the Enterprise is not where they said they were going to meet us. So they're like, we'll do a scan and we'll figure it out. And it's like, oh, well, there they are. But you can see on the little screen that they're kind of like, like drifting, like they're like flipping end over end and stuff like that. Like nobody's at the wheel. So they're like, okay, well, we're going to manually dock. So go ahead and make our attitude and everything, adjusted to theirs. And so they dock and they get onto the shuttle bay, and it's just like stuff's thrown everywhere, and there's like uniforms ripped up and like slime and things like that. So obviously there's been like an awesome like rave or something that has gone on, and Data and Picard are very sad to have missed it. So they're going around and they notice that like all the main power systems are down and environmental systems are configured strangely all over the ship. Like there's some areas that are like, super like hot, and other areas are like 90% humidity and like the temperature is really low, and but all the life forms on the ship have seemed to have like kind of went to a couple of different areas. Like there's like the Arboretum, like there's a bunch of people in there, and then there's also like some other areas that I guess are better suited for whatever people have transformed into, but they're going down the hallway and they find like a giant human-sized skin casting, like from a reptile, like a snake skin that had been shed. And so they're coming along, and conveniently, on the walk in, here's Deanna Troy's quarters. And so they're like, hey, he actually says to Data, he's like, hey, I want to kind of look inside. And it's like, you know what? So do I. I mean, as an interested fan, I wouldn't mind going through and let's see what's in your underwear drawer. Whatever. We're here, Data. Come on, man. No judgment. So they go inside, and it's like, oh my gosh, like somebody's messed with the environmentals. It's, it's like super humid in here. They go in the bathroom and they see Troy face down in the water. And so Picard runs over and like flips her over, and she's in full on frog mode.
Right.
Like her hand is like all kind of flat and scaly, and like there's like little bulby things around the tips of her fingers, and she's got gills, and she's got this vacant look on her face. There's like chunks of hair floating in the water and stuff like that. And so they somehow she has developed into this amphibian-like creature, and that immediately Data is like, I read the script, so I'm pretty certain that everybody is affected by something that's altering their DNA. So they go up to the bridge. They find Ensign Ricky from earlier, the guy that was like, well, what am I supposed to tell him, boss? Starfleet's on the phone. They want to know how the weapons test went. And he's dead. He's sitting there, and he's got like huge slash marks on his chest, like some animal attacked him. And Data scans him and is like, hey, like, you know, why didn't this guy change? And he's like, oh, well, he was just in the first stages of changing. Ooh. So he hadn't undergone any kind of significant changes, so he just still looked like a human. So at this point, you kind of see like some little spider webs around different places, but you know, it's, you know, if the maintenance crew of the Enterprise isn't on duty, then you're going to get that kind of stuff. Right. So they go ahead and they're like, okay, well, you know, we're up here and I can kind of see a little bit more of what's going on, and we're going to go ahead and try to restore power to the ship so we can get things back online. But the entire power transfer grid is like damaged, so we need to go down maybe to engineering or something to fix it. So they before they take off though, they hear like some grunting in the other room. And so they go over to the captain's office, and they open up the door, and there's a huge brute man that is like shaking on Captain Picard's fish tank, trying to get Livingston, that's Captain Picard's fish, trying to get Livingston out, I guess, to eat it. And it turns around, and it's Riker, some kind of proto-human. Or it was just Eddie Rabbit. Like maybe Eddie Rabbit had a break in his schedule, and he was like, you know, I'm not touring. Maybe I'll come by and shoot some Star Trek stuff. Because all you'd have to do is just put him in a Star Trek uniform.
Very, very true.
So he turns around, he's going to attack Picard, and so Data phases him, and they do a little scan, and it's like, oh my gosh, like he's, you know, devolving. Dun-dun-dun. But yeah, that's basically Act 4 that's basically Act 3 in a nutshell. So go ahead and take it, James.
Okay. So Act 4 starts with Riker and Troy are in sickbay and Data starting to analyze the DNA of the pretty much the victims of this interesting, like, terrible disease or whatever's, you know, attacking the crew. And basically, thanks to Barclay having this weird, you know, genetic disease or issue, that the synthetic T cell that was injected into him to kind of solve his problem with that flu spread to everyone else and decided to activate what they called introns. And what that pretty much does is it resequences DNA and puts them all the way back into their genetic history and de-evolves them.
So the T virus became airborne, and it Resident Evil'd the entire crew of the Enterprise?
Yes. So
oh my God.
The gill slits on Troy are because there's some kind of amphibian back in her genetic DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And Riker goes back into a Cro-Magnon man because he's a meathead.
Sure.
And you know, it's this. When this kind of part hit, I was like, this is actually kind of an interesting. You know, like I was kind of starting to get interested in what was going on and how they were going to get out of this, because now Data tells Picard that he's going to be a marmoset. And
yeah, you're going to be a lemur or a pygmy marmoset. And I was like, that's like very specific.
Very. And Data's like, okay, we don't have time. I'm going to, you know, go to the computer in my quarters, and we're going to try to, you know, figure out how to take this all the way to back to where we need to be and get all the power back on and get these people fixed. And Data goes to his quarters, and he notices Spot isn't there, but the kittens that Spot gave birth to are. And they look around the room, and they notice there's a reptile wearing a cat collar. And
sure,
somewhere in Spot's genetic DNA, Spot is a reptile. It's pretty much an iguana.
Sure.
And so they're like, wait, why aren't the kittens de-evolved? Well, the kittens had there's a placental barrier, and the amniotic fluid protected the kittens from changing while the virus was attacking the cat. And so then they recall, hold on, Nurse Agawa's having a baby. Let's go grab some of her amniotic fluid and just start, you know, using that to bring people back to where they need to be.
Sure.
Well, there's another issue is the warp core. There's the warp plasma events are starting to just tear down parts of engineering. And so while checking on this warp core, oh, and by the way, during all of this, Picard is becoming more and more afraid of everything around him. Like whenever something like a door opens suddenly, he freaks out. He's turning more and more into a marmoset. I want to just call him a marmoset because I think that's just too cute.
I think Data or something is like, that might have been being a total pussy might have been like a genetic sort of advantage for your your ancestors. Right. It's like, what?
Well, you know when to run. So when Data goes to check on the warp core, Picard is with him, they see all this spider webs around, and Barclay kind of jumps up onto the window, and Barclay is transformed partially into an arachnid, and Data's like, yes. Oh.
Well, I mean, he's partially transformed in that they only had money for half the makeup. And because of Picard's de-evolution, he's like, we gotta get out of here, man. We gotta run. Let's get the fuck out of here. Let's go. We gotta run. People are watching me, man.
So they find...
I'm having a bad time, man.
So they find Agawa, and Data is like, oh, hey, let's... They scan her and said, hey, the fetus is not being affected by the virus. Let's draw out some of the stuff, and we can create a retrovirus that would neutralize the T cell, and we could cure everybody. Cool. So as they're trying to get on the situation, as they're trying to get this retrovirus going, there's this huge banging at the door in sickbay, and it's like, oh crap, Worf showed up.
Yeah, it's I like how he says it though, because he's like, can you scan and find out what it is? And he's like, well, it's big and it's mad, and it shows that it has like body armor and it weighs like X amount, and it's Klingon. And I'm just thinking, oh, like what a slam on the Klingons. it's like you're devolved, but you're still Klingon. It's just like,
wow.
Yeah,
I never thought of that. Man. You're right.
I know.
So I was like, oh, come on. Really? A cat turns into an iguana? The iguana would have eaten all the kittens.
I know. It's like, well, and it makes me wonder, was there a brief, because the kittens are like moving around and stuff, so obviously they've been fed. So was there a brief period of time when this iguana had nipples?
Quite possibly.
I'm just saying, lizard milk, like that's like a once in a next generation experience.
And when they're talking about like, placental barriers and amniotic fluid, I was like, so basically the plan is everybody needs to eat some placenta.
Yeah, it's like, see, you made fun of that woman at the co-op, and her woo could have saved your life.
It's like, no, we're fine. Thank you. This is the future.
No,
we don't need placenta to get a strong immune.
No. I mean, I appreciate the offer, but we just came from Wendy's. I could not have any more placenta.
You got to try the new placentinators, man.
Oh my gosh, it's like it's got twice as much placenta as our nearest competitor. So Act 5, Worf is like trying to beat his way in the door, and there's actually kind of a pretty competent effect there of when he hits the door that it's kind of like bending in like a section of the door. So they're like trying to very quickly figure out a plan of like what they're going to do to get Worf to piss off so they can finish their little science project. And Picard is like, well, notice that Worf like bit Troy on the face and not like, somewhere that it might have hurt.
Right.
Hurt her. So maybe this is like a mating thing for the Klingons. So maybe he's trying to get in here because he thinks we stole his mate. And they're like, well, we can't just let Worf, like turbo armored crazy Worf, get in here and hurt her. So we're going to have to figure out a way to like draw him away. So in the span of like 30 seconds of technobabble, Data makes a little hypospray mister thing that's like, it's like the makeup counter girls where it's like, you want a free sample of Giorgio?
You mean something that would have worked better as the venom spray?
Yeah. So they went ahead and he gives him a little spritzer, and Data's like, "Well, I'm going to go ahead and go do this because I can run faster than Worf." And Picard's like, "No, you need to go ahead and finish up the project here because you can do it quicker than I can. I'm going to lead." Worf away. So he kind of sneaks out the side door. He starts spraying the stuff around, and Worf kind of sniffs it and starts chasing Picard. So they're going through and he's spraying it down other hallways and stuff to try to confuse him and throw him off the signal, or off the scent. And Picard goes down this dark hallway and he sees Worf kind of in the distance. He's all confused. Well, he opens up this turbo lift door and there's bright light. So now, Worf sees me. He's running down the hallway after Picard. Picard gets the door shut just in time. And I guess now Worf is trying to beat on the door of the turbo lift to get inside. So Picard climbs up through the turbo lift shaft and stuff like that and ends up in a Jeffries tube. Well, he opens up a door in a Jeffries tube and Worf spits more acid on him. So spits acid on his arm. And so he's like, "Oh, I'm all hurt now." And Picard's trying to get away, and Worf comes down, and he's in that same Jeffries tube from earlier where Barclay and Geordi were working on that broken whatever it was, bypass conduit. And so there's a big wire sticking out of the wall. And so Picard grabs a little thing, a lunch tray, and sits it down so he's insulated. And then right when Worf's about to get him, he jabs the electrical cable down into the Jeffries tube and electrocutes him and knocks him out. So
Fred Klingon.
At that exact moment, that exact moment. Oh, and it's great because this armored Klingon thing, they never show it in full light, so you don't really see. It just looks like a lot of the Klingon sort of that bone structure of the head, just all over.
It's just all ridges.
Yeah, he's all ridges. It would just be there's not enough Jergens in the world to fix what's wrong with this guy's skin. So they, so it's at that exact moment when he incapacitates Worf, Data gets on the horn and he's like, "Captain, I figured out that I could turn this into a gas and just release it out into the ship in the form of a new virus. Not that won't complicate things anymore, and that should transform everyone back to their previous states." And he's like, "Yeah, just go ahead and do it. That sounds great. My career's over. My career as a captain's over, so that'll be fine." So fast forward to everybody back to normal, and Barclay is in sick bay. Everybody's again back to normal, and he's like, "Oh, this is all my fault, and I feel so bad." And she's like, "Actually, it's not really your fault. It's my fault because I just decided to do this thing, and didn't really decide to test it or put you in any sort of isolation while we saw if this was possible."
She was so quick to rush him out that she caused this whole thing.
I know, it was just, I was in such a hurry to go home. You should not have came in at 5 till 5 on a Friday.
But we shut off the fryers at 4:45, man.
I know. So she's like, I meant to turn on just that one dormant T cell, but instead I activated all of your dormant T cells. So including all your introns. So she's like, well, it's a real shame that half the crew got eaten by their friends and relatives. But hey, we normally name new diseases after the first person that got it. And she's like, how about we call it the Barclay's protomorphosynthesis syndrome? The Barclay's protomorphosis syndrome. Oh, good Lord.
You nailed it.
I know, finally. Yes. And she's like,
I'm good.
That she's telling Troy about it. And she's like, Barclay turned into a spider. And then we named this new disease after him. And she's like, "Oh, I guess I'll, because of patient confidentiality, I guess I better clear my schedule for the next few weeks." And it does that thing where they look at each other and laugh and kind of lean back, and then it freeze frames like at the end of an 80s sitcom.
I wrote, "They are no longer fit to be in any kind of capacity of helping anybody in the ship anymore."
It's like, I basically killed everybody, and you broke Dr. Patient confidentiality. Another day on the Enterprise. So, yeah, that was pretty crazy. I liked all the special effects. I liked the. This seems like this was an expensive episode to shoot.
Yeah.
Probably because they took all the money that they would spend on normally doing like an on-set location. They spent that on effects and stuff, and I kind of liked that.
Yeah, and there is just some. I after talking about it with you, I can see like, yeah, this is actually more entertaining than I thought it was.
Yeah,
I actually like that.
No, I do like it
because it's so ridiculous.
Yes, it is. It's very, very squirrely. The Nurse Agawa makeup is really great because it's very Planet of the Apes. Like she's got like all this like furry, fuzzy kind of stuff going on her neck. And I was sitting there watching the episode with my wife, and she goes, "Man, that retrovirus just really took care of all that beard for her." It's like. I was like, yeah, I remember thinking that too back in the day. So, no, I really do. I really did like this episode. I thought it was pretty
nice
for not being great.
It's fun to laugh at.
So, yes, but Riker is like a Australopithecus, kind of like in. I didn't even think about this, but if you go back, and since it's on Netflix, you can pause it pretty easy, and it's in HD, so you can actually see it. But Livingston, so Picard's lionfish, if you look in there, it's jellyfish
because it de-evolved, right?
Yeah, because it de-evolved,
of course.
And I was thinking that I was like, you know what, they should just let Riker go ahead and break in there because he'll never make that mistake again. It's like, I want to eat that jellyfish. And that would have been the end of Riker.
That would.
So, I wonder how many people they actually lost on the Enterprise just to being eaten. Oh, well.
Oh, just like because of, as far as who died, you're saying?
Yeah, because it's somebody. I mean, people had to have died. Worf probably ate a couple of his crewmates, but it's never addressed again.
True.
I think it was one of those things. It's like one of those things. You go to a party and everybody drinks too much, and so it's like just as a blanket thing, we're never going to discuss this again. We're just going to hit reset at the end of this party, and that'll be it.
Oh. Yeah, I've looked, and I don't think there is like a count except for that one guy, Dern, on the bridge, and he was either killed by Worf or Riker. I think Worf because of the slashes. But yeah, that's all I got. Do you want to know what the next episode is? The next one is called Eye of the Beholder.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's my favorite D&D, Dungeon Master module.
We're not doing that. No, sorry. I'll tell you what it's about, though. It's about Counselor Troy in an investigation into the suicide of a crewman that suggests a murder was committed aboard the Enterprise while it was being built, and that the murderer is still on board. Please tell me that this is an episode in which Data dresses up like Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, man. You know what? One up from that, I really want to see him dress up like Murder, She Wrote.
Really? Are you serious?
Listen, no judgments.
All right. Well, I thank you for bringing, for kind of holding my hand through this.
Bringing this into your life.
I get why you like this episode now. It's so good.
Yeah. It's so good, bad.
Yeah.
So
in the best ways.
In the best ways. James, thanks so much for joining me. And thanks everybody at home for tuning in and listening to us. We'll see you again next week.
See ya.